Good morning or afternoon, everyone. My name is Jeremy Walsh, and I'm the Director of Support, Training, and Documentation for BNI Connect. I'd like to welcome everybody to the webinar today. We do have quite a few people on the webinar. I'd also like to welcome some people from India on the webinar today. So I know it's quite late there, if I'm not mistaken. So thank you so much for being here with us today. So today's webinar is going to be on the online slips and referral tracking in BNI Connect. In October of 2012, we introduced a way to take all of the slips that you would be filling out on paper in the meeting and doing that as an online activity through BNI Connect. And there's a number of reasons why this is beneficial from a member standpoint. Not only does it make the referral process faster, but it also allows you to track all the information about your referrals, about your thank you for closed business, about your CEUs, about your one-to-ones, and to be able to utilize that information to enhance your membership on an ongoing basis. So we're going to go through that whole process today, as well as how it helps the vice presidents or the membership coordinators in your chapter by making a little bit less work for them to have to do as well. A couple of housekeeping things before we get started with the content today. This is a live webinar, so that means that if you have any questions as we're going through the content today, please do feel free to ask those questions. I'll see them pop up on the screen, and I'll be able to answer them as we're going through the material, or if it's an unrelated question, I can answer that question at the end. We're scheduled for about 30 minutes worth of content, and then we will also open it up for open questions and answers. That being said, I am always happy to stay on these webinars until every single question is answered. So don't feel like you're constrained to a half hour. Feel free to ask as many questions as you'd like to, and I'd be happy to answer them. This webinar is also being recorded. It will be made available in a couple of different locations. The first of which is if you click on the question mark. So in the upper right-hand corner of BNI Connect, you'll see a question mark. That will bring you over to the support site. And on the support site, you will see our list of upcoming webinars. But if you scroll down just a little bit into chapter training and documentation, you'll see all of our webinars on a month-by-month basis. So for example, if I was to click on September of 2014 here, I would see all links to all of the webinars from 2014 September. So you can review any of them. You can share them with your other chapter members. If you'd like to, you can also visit our YouTube channel, and that is youtube.com/BNI Connect Global. Again, that's youtube.com/BNI Connect Global. Now we have a ton of additional resources up here as well. So aside from just all of the recorded webinars, we also have a ton of educational moments, about 3 to 5 minute videos on specific portions in BNI Connect, and special messages from Dr. Meisner and release previews and all sorts of stuff up here on our YouTube channel as well. So please check us out there. And again, feel free to share those videos as learning opportunities with other members in your chapter. All right, let's take a look at the online slips. Now, the online slips, as I said, is a way for you to record the weekly activity as it's happening during the week. So you don't have to wait until you get to your chapter meeting in order to fill out a piece of paper. All of this can be done online as it's happening. So this does help to speed up the process, especially when it comes to referrals, because your referral partner will get that information right away. Now, processing this activity happens right on the home screen. As soon as you log into BNI Connect, you'll see all of the different links to process that activity, as well as all of your statistics. Now, a couple of things that I'll show you on the home screen that you may not have realized or seen before. So the top section here is your My BNI Business. And this is really your activity, your personal activity in BNI over the last 12 months, as well as your lifetime in BNI. So you can take a look at these numbers. You can see referrals that you've received, thank you for closed business given, referrals given, visitors, one-to-one CEUs. And this top number up here, by the way, revenue received to my business, that's actually a new number in BNI Connect that you will only see if you're submitting your thank you for closed business slips online. Now, one thing to keep in mind about these statistics at the top of the screen is that this information is the official PALMS statistics. So that means that even if we're passing the online slips, until your vice president or membership coordinator verifies and submits the weekly PALMS reports, such as for attendance and all the activity, these numbers won't change. So only after the weekly PALMS report has been submitted will these numbers be updated. Now, if you'd like to see a detailed list of your activity, you can also click on this link that says My Personal Participation Report. And this will give you a week-by-week breakdown of your last year in BNI. So this is especially helpful if you think that there might be a mistake in the numbers, to be able to go through and take a look and see exactly what was input for your stats for each individual week, along with a summary down at the bottom. We'll also give you a quick view of your attendance, any members that you've sponsored, as well as any events or training that you've attended in your region. Now at the bottom of the screen, this is where we will do all of our weekly slips activity. Now the first four options, you'll see it says submit thank you for closed business, submit a referral slip, submit a one-to-one, and submit CEUs. So these are the four different types of slips that we could pass on a weekly basis. So let's take a look at how those work. So the first one here is submit thank you for closed business. So if I have a thank you for closed business, let's say somebody passed me a referral that generated revenue for my business, I want to make sure that I thank that person for generating that revenue. So I would click on submit thank you for closed business slip. So all we need to do is select somebody from our chapter. So let's say that this was from Jack Bauer. He was the promotional products person in my chapter. Let's say that he passed me a referral that ended up turning into $2,000 worth of business to my business. Let's say it was a new business, new referral. It was an outside referral. Now the comments, I can put anything that I'd like to. Now, unlike the paper slips where we turn that in and we never see it again, it will be helpful to put comments in here in order to be able to go back and recognize that thank you for closed business later. Now, the comments will remain private to you and only you. Nobody else can see those comments in the system. So your vice president can't see those, your director consultant can't see those, your executive director, Ivan Meisner can't read the comments. Myself, with godlike access to BNI Connect, I cannot read the comments that you put on there. So they are private to you, so feel free to put whatever information you'd like. So I can even put in that this was the referral to Jane Doe for purchase of a new computer system. So that way, when Jack comes back to me a month from now, 2 months from now, and say, hey, by the way, did you ever turn in that thank you for closed business? I can go back and review it in order to be able to make sure that I had submitted that. Now, once I'm done filling out the information, I have a couple of options down here at the bottom. I can click on Save and New, and what that'll do is that'll save all this information, and it'll immediately pull up a blank form so I can put in a second one right away. I can click Submit, which will just input this one and bring me back to the home screen, or if I choose Close, that will cancel this operation and bring me back. I'm going to go ahead and choose Save and New, which will pull up a new slip right away. Now, the other opportunity that you have is that you can also submit thank you for closed business and a lot of these other slips to other people within your region. So let's say that I don't happen to have a web designer in my chapter right now. However, I happen to be on good terms with a web designer who happens to be in another chapter in my area. And we regularly pass referrals, and they passed me a referral that resulted in business. So I can thank them for it so that they get credit for it in their chapter. To do that, I would click Search Cross-Chapter. I can type in, all I need to type in is a couple of characters in any of these fields. So his name is Joe, so I'm just going to put Joe in here. And it was Joe Grimes from Excel Tech. And I click OK. And now the thank you will go to Joe Grimes. And let's say this was a referral in the amount of $500. It was repeat business. and it was for Acme Insurance support contract. Once I click submit, this will now be submitted, and he will actually get credit for that in his PALMS report. Now, the great thing about inputting these slips online is that, again, we can go back and we can review these slips that we input online anytime we want to. And we can do that in the bottom section here that says review my slips. So the best way to check to make sure that the slip was entered properly, so I submitted a thank you for closed business slip, it will immediately appear in my review my thank you for closed business slips. By default, it's going to have a date selection of the last 6 months. Now, if I'd like to, I can change this selection. I can go back, as far as I want to. And please keep in mind that this will only show the electronic slip. So if up until this point you've been using just paper, those details will not be in there. It'll only show any of the online slips that you've entered. So I can click go and take a look at all of the referral slips that I've submitted. And if I go to the bottom here, here's the 2 slips that I just submitted. The first one to Jack Bauer to $2,000 and Joe Grimes for $500. And again, you can see it has all of the details that I put in. And to me, that's a huge benefit right there because, again, a month from now, 2 months from now, Jack comes back to me and says, hey, did you ever put in thank you for closed business for that Jane Doe computer? I can go back, I can review this and say, yes, as a matter of fact, on October 15th, I submitted that thank you for closed business slip. Now, one thing you'll notice is that some of these are in draft and some of these say completed. The ones that are in draft mode means that my vice president has not yet submitted that weekly report. The ones that are completed means that those are now official, they've been counted, and they're now locked in the system. Once my vice president has completed the report for this week after my weekly meeting, these will show up as completed. The other powerful thing that I find about the Thank You for Closed Business report is that it also helps you to analyze your membership. Now, do you know who is generating the most money for your business? A lot of times we think we have an idea of who that person is, but you can really verify that information or maybe find out some new things by simply sorting this list by who you've been giving thank yous to. And when I sort this list, I can scroll through it and say, hey, you know what? I've been giving a lot of thank yous to Dave Cordero, and it looks like he's been referring me a lot of business. I can even sort this by, let's say, the amount. And I can see that, yeah, this person right here, I did 2 thank yous for almost $70,000 or $60,000. And I might want to take this person to lunch to thank them for generating so much business for me. When you're just submitting these on paper, they kind of get forgotten after you've entered them. All right, the next type of slip on the list is a referral slip. And if you click on Submit Referral Slip, this should look pretty familiar. It looks pretty much exactly like the referral slips that we have traditionally put on paper. So this works the same way. I just need to either search cross-chapter for somebody else in my region. Now, keep in mind, at this time, this is limited to just people that are in your area. So right now, I am a member here in the Rhode Island region. I could search for other members in Rhode Island. However, I couldn't search for somebody in Texas or in California, at least not yet. We are hoping to have that functionality at some point in the future. So let's say I had a referral for Ken Neff. He happens to be the cell phone distributor in my chapter. I could type in the referral information here. So let's say that this was a referral to John Smith. It was an outside referral. I gave John Ken's card. You can type in the address information. The phone number. The email address. And any comments. I can rate this. And again, I can choose Save and New or click Submit. Once I have submitted this, one of the great things about the online referrals is that Ken will get an email right away with all of the details that I entered into that referral slip. So, for example, here's a referral notification that I received in my chapter just a couple of days ago. This referral came from Christine Denardi. She referred herself to me. It gave me the details, the phone number, and the great thing is because I received this on my cell phone, I can go ahead and just click that phone number and start a conversation with my referral right away. It also gives me all the referral information for my referral partner so I can email or call her right from my phone. And of course, I can review my referral slips. By default, this one is going to show you the last month, but again, you can go back and change the date range to anything you'd like. And now I can see all of the referrals that I've passed. And again, this one is in draft status until the meeting closes. Now, I noticed here that I made a mistake on the referral. So I think I put in the wrong phone number. If I need to change that, I can, as long as it's still in draft mode here. In draft mode, these are still editable. And if I need to edit this, I can go up, and at the top, there's a button that says Edit, Delete Slips. And here I can see all of the slips that are still in draft mode. And this referral slip to Ken, I'd like to edit. So I can click on Edit. I can change any of the information. Oh, I noticed I spelt Theirville wrong. And the phone number is actually wrong. It's 244-555-9877. And I can resubmit that information. And I could even change who the referral was to. I can close out of that, and that information is now corrected. And that's the same for any of the slips that you're able to edit. We do have a question from Ove. It says, are you also planning to add possibility to add thank you for closed business across regions? So yes, we are hoping at some point that all of the cross-region activity, the thank you for closed business, the referrals, and the one-to-ones will be able to be done with any other BNI member. It may start out scaling from just your region to maybe the country level and then on a global scale. But again, that's future functionality. We don't have a time frame for when that might become available, but it's definitely something that is on the suggestion list. So does that help? All right, the next type of slip is a one-to-one slip. Now the one-to-one slip is, again, just choose somebody from my chapter. If I had a one-to-one with somebody else in the region, I could do that as well. So let's say I had a one-to-one with Christy Armstrong, who also happens to be my personal accountant. I could put the location. We met at Starbucks. What we talked about, some new regulations in accounting, and the date that we met. So we met on Monday the 13th, and I can click Submit. Now, both of us will be getting credit for that one-to-one, so that means that only one of us has to submit that one-to-one form. Now, let's say Christy goes and she tries to submit the one-to-one form after I've already submitted it. So if a one-to-one between two people, the location doesn't matter, the topics doesn't matter. If a one-to-one between two people gets submitted for the same date, you will get a warning saying that it already exists in the system and the opportunity to then cancel that entry. And of course, all of my one-to-one slips will be recorded so I can review them. Now, what I love about this is that this also helps me to plan, and you can see I go to Starbucks a lot, this helps me to plan who I'm having my one-to-ones with. So if you ever happen to be in your chapter meeting, you look across the room and say, you know what, Elliot Granville and I, we used to do a ton of business together, and I find that we don't do that much business together anymore. Take a look at your one-to-one logs. More than likely, you haven't done a one-to-one with them, or you haven't done a one-to-one with them in a very long time. One-to-ones lead to better relationships, which lead to more referrals. So please take a look through your one-to-ones and strategize who you are having your one-to-ones with. We do have a question here from Cheryl. Will this be developed into an app for the phone? And as a matter of fact, they are in the prototype phases right now of building a mobile design for being able to do these activities on a mobile device. So that is in process as we speak. They're developing the first prototypes now. So hopefully that helps. So, and again, I do not have a time frame for release. It is a very complicated and proprietary system, BNI Connect, so it will be, can't say it's going to happen in a month or in 2 months or in 6 months. All I can say is that it is in the early phases right now as we speak. All right, and the final one, for those regions that are using CEUs or chapter education units, you have the opportunity to submit a chapter education unit. Now, BNI Connect webinars do count, so make sure that you submit a 1 credit for today. For those that are using the English US language, you'll actually see BNI webinar listed here. Give yourself a 1 and submit a CEU slip. In other languages, I would recommend just choosing one of these 1 credit courses. And of course, there's the corresponding CEU report that I can review the CEU slips that I've turned in. All right, now, if you're receiving referrals online, you can also track and monitor the referrals that you've received. There is a report that just lists out all the details. If I click on the Review Received Referrals report, I can take a look at any referrals that I've received in this report. I can see the referral name, the details, the email address, and who referred me to them. Now, I can also see if there's any information that I'm tracking on those referrals as well. Like, when did I contact them? What was their interest level? Presentation, follow-up, and what is the status? Is it still new? Is it open? Is it closed? All of this information you can update for any referrals that you receive in BNI Connect by going to the Track Your Referrals Received online. Now, you can go back up to, I believe, 6 months in this particular search. And this is our training system, so I don't receive a lot of referrals on the training system. But let's see if I can find one here. Otherwise, I'll switch over to the new system, to the live system. There we go. So here's a couple of referrals that I've received in BNI Connect. So what I can do is, here's a new referral. I can go in and click Edit. I can change any of the details on it, but more importantly, I can track the status. Is it pending? Is it closed? Was it a no sale? I can mark when I contacted them, when I met with them, and when I followed up with them. Once I submit this, my referral sheet will be updated. And what's even better is that Ken Neff, who referred that person to me, in his referral given report, the status will be listed as closed. So Pat has a question about searching for categories. Pat, if you don't mind, I'm going to answer that question right at the end. And I'll show you how to search for people that you may not know who they are yet. So Rick also had a question about the PALMS report. How does your VP report one-to-ones on the weekly report? So one of the biggest benefits for especially the leadership team and the vice presidents of the chapter is that all of this information that we're submitting online is automatically recorded in the PALM. So it makes their life a lot easier. For anybody that's ever been a vice president, when we were using the paper system, they have to go back to their office, take all these pieces of paper, sort them into piles, count them, and then enter them into the PALMS report. When we do this online, that's all there already. So let me show. I'm going to go over the live system for a minute. And let me switch over to my chapter. Now, my chapter did decide to go completely digital with our referrals recently. So our chapter meeting happens to be tomorrow. So what we'll see is when my vice president goes to enter the POMS report after the meeting tomorrow, he'll go to meeting management, he'll go to enter a POMS report. And he will put in the meeting date. And what we'll see here is that the POMS report is already filled out with a ton of information. These are all of the electronic slips that have already been passed this week. So all they'll have to do is to take attendance for the meeting tomorrow, then submit the report. Now they can also click the slips audit report and monitor all of the activity that happened that week and verify any of it. Now, what a lot of people ask, okay, so Rick said, understand that, but if two members do a one-to-one, is it counted as a one-to-one, or two? So it's counted as a one in each of their columns. So Rick, if you were in my chapter, if I did a one-to-one with you, I would get a one in my one-to-one column, and you would get a one in your one-to-one column. Does that make sense, Rick? Does that help? Sumitra asks, if I listen to 4 podcasts, shall I enter 5, and what credits do I get? Yeah, you can't, with the CEU slips, you can't split it apart. What I would say is go listen to a 5th podcast real quick. They're only about 10 minutes, and then enter yourself a 1 credit for that. All right, so a lot of people say, well, now that we're passing all this stuff online, what are we supposed to do at the meeting? Well, we don't want to change the referral and testimonial portion of the meeting at all. We absolutely want to celebrate all of this activity at the weekly chapter meeting. So when it comes around to the referrals and testimonials, we want to stand up and we want to talk about all of this activity. The only difference is we don't necessarily have to drop a little paper slip into the basket because it's already been accounted for. The whole reason for the slips was so that the vice president could take them back to to their office and input them. But since they're already input, there's no need for the physical paper slip anymore. However, there's still the door prize. What about the door prize? If you would like to, you can still print your weekly slips. If I click Go, this personal meeting activity sheet, if I click Print, will print out referral slips that I can drop into the basket to be chosen for the door prize, but it will also just organize the rest of the information. So there's no need to pass in an actual thank you for closed business slip or a one-to-one slip or a CEU slip, but we do want to announce it. So I'd be able to stand up at the meeting. I could cut this out with a pair of scissors, say I had a referral for Ken Neff to John Smith. I had a thank you for closed business to Jack Bauer for 2,000 and Joe Grimes for 500. I had a one-to-one with Christy Armstrong and a CEU slip with 1 credit this week. So all of this we absolutely want to report. We want to celebrate it at the meeting. And again, if you'd like to, you can turn in a referral slip, a paper slip, so that you can be counted for the door prize. If you don't print it out, that's okay. What we recommend is just taking one of those regular paper slips, write out the referral information, then put an X through it so that your vice president knows it was already entered into the POMS report. It doesn't get double counted. All right, so let's see. We have a couple more questions up here. Jen says, when the VP enters the thank you for closed business on the POMS, do they enter it on the line of the person giving the slip money or the person receiving the slip? So it goes onto the person that generated the money. So generally, if I'm turning in the slip, I'm putting somebody else's name on it. That somebody else generated money for my business. Therefore, that person gets the credit for giving that amount of money or producing that amount of money. So in the POMS report, we do not track how much money people make. We track how much they've given. Does that make sense, Jen? Does that answer your question? Pat says, so even if we forget a one-to-one, as long as the other person submitted it, we still get credit for that one-to-one. And yes, absolutely. When one person submits the one-to-one, both people get credit for it. And again, if the second person goes to try to enter it, they will get a warning saying it was already entered. Let's see. Rick says, if the total one-to-ones for a week is 30, does that count as 30 one-to-ones or 15? It's my understanding that if I schedule a one-to-one with a member and we meet that is one one-to-one on the POMS report, it would be counted as 2. Yes, on the POMS report, it is counted as 2. So for some regions around the world, they were doing it where only one person, the person that initiated it, would get the one-to-one. However, the way that the system was designed, and it might be a change for some regions, is that both people receive a one-to-one credit for having that meeting. After all, it is a relationship builder for both people that sat down to have that meeting. But that could be something that is different from what you're currently doing in your region right now. So again, I don't think you're being dense as you put it. However, it could be different than what you're currently doing. Does that make sense, Rick? All right, let's see. Ove says, on the personal statistics, I can see the revenues received. The chapter VP cannot see this. I, as a VP, would like to see the whole chapter stats in order to aid the members that are not getting business. Again, this revenue received, that is not recorded in the POMS, and only the people see it. What this really is just the summary of the review my thank you for closed business for 12 months in a lifetime. So if I was to do a lifetime thank you for closed business, review my thank you for closed business slips, and I just choose a number from way before the slip started. This number as a total, except for the fact that it has new entries in here, the number of completed total should match this number for lifetime. I understand that this would be helpful to some vice presidents or people that want to help, but it is a private number. If people want to share that, then that is something that they would have to share voluntarily by either printing it out or sharing that number with you. So we also do that to stay in compliance with some professions where it might be unethical to share those numbers. Sumitra said, where to enter the webinar attended in CEU? So again, that's under Submit CEU Slips. In the United States English, we have amended this so it says BNI webinar. Eventually, I'm assuming you're using the Indian version of English, which may not include this. But generally speaking, all of these credits relate to the amount of time it takes to perform that activity. For example, most BNI CDs are about an hour. Podcasts are about 10 to 12 minutes apiece. So 5 of them would be about an hour. So that's why these are 1 credit. The member success program is usually between 2 and 3 hours. That's why it's 2 credits. Again, so the way most people look at this is that, if I went to a training that was 3 hours, I would put in a 3-hour credit for that. So hopefully that helps, Sumitra. All right, let me go back to Paul's question. Paul said, I understand how to search for a particular name of an area chapter member, but what if we don't know the name of someone who provides a particular type of goods or service in our chapter? Can we search by category? So the way that you search for people is by clicking on this magnifying glass. So the first thing to do is that you want to actually make a connection with them and be able to pass them the business. Hopefully you've established that. When we're tracking the referrals here and we're passing a slip, that means the business has already happened. So hopefully you know the person's name by the time you're actually putting the referral slip in. But if you're just looking for people that you'd like to do business with or that you might have a referral for, the way you can do that is by clicking on this magnifying glass up at the top. So let's say, for example, I'm looking for a plumber in Rhode Island where I happen to live. I don't have a plumber in my chapter. I'd really like to refer something to a plumber in Rhode Island. So I could type in plumber, Rhode Island, and click search members. And this will give me a list of plumbers in Rhode Island. Now what I can do is, let's say, John Phillips, he's relatively close by. I'm going to click on his name. And I can now look at his details. I can give him a call because he's sharing his phone number. I can send him a connection request if I'd like to have a connection with him. Or I can move on to the next person if I'd like to. And again, unfortunately, this person is not sharing any information, so even if I wanted to, I couldn't get in touch with Ryan, which is a real shame. This is one of the reasons why you want to make sure that you fill out your profile in BNI Connect and to make sure that you're sharing at least enough information for them to get in touch with you. So does that help, Pat? And there's also an advanced search if you'd like to get even more specific to make sure that you're searching just on certain industries or just within a country or specifically by first name and last name. So Pat, does that answer your question from earlier? All right, let's see. Andrew says, oh, and by the way, Pat, we do have a webinar just on the whole searching and connection and everything like that. That webinar, if you go to the support site, again, click that question mark, the webinar for the connections, groups, and testimonials, that is the next webinar. That's actually tomorrow at 9 a.m. Pacific, noon Eastern. If you'd like to join us, we're going to go into detail about how to search, how to find people, strategies for keywords, and all sorts of things like that. So Andrew says, do you have any suggestions on the best way to bring this up with my chapter? So Andrew, the best thing to do is to just to meet with your leadership team or meet with your director consultant. Possibly get some of the members of your chapter to attend or review a recording of one of these Referral Slips webinars. Talk about the benefits of using the online slips, and then it's just a matter of introducing it to the chapter through educational moments, through trainings. It was 2 years of using the system before we decided to go completely 100% digital, and basically we did that as our leadership team changed over this past term and made a big show of actually taking the entire box of paper slips and throwing them away. They're not even available anymore. But we do bring a couple of laptops and iPads and things like that so that people that might need a little bit more one-on-one training before the meeting, we can sit with them and show them how to input a referral or record that other activity. Does that help at all, Andrew? All right. That was the last question that we have. Does anybody else have any questions at all? I would love to answer those questions. While you're thinking of any last-minute questions, I do want to thank everybody for coming today. Just a reminder, this is being recorded. I will make the recording available as soon as I can, probably towards the end, by the end of the week. It will be up on the support site as well as at youtube.com/BNI Connect Global. By the way, Andrew, one other thing that you might find helpful is if you would like to teach it to your chapter members, if you click on the question mark in front of any of these things, like for example, you want to just show them very quickly how to submit a referral slip, click this question mark in front of it. This will take you to the support site and the specific article about that particular activity. So that means that you'll be able to, you can print this out as a written document. This also happens to have an embedded video in it. That's a quick 4-minute and 10-second demonstration of how to do that particular activity. So hopefully you find that helpful. Finally, I would love it if you gave us a like on Facebook. So facebook.com/BNI Connect Global. We do webinar announcements and reminders and tips and tricks and all sorts of things up on our Facebook channel as well. So please do join us there. All right, if there's no additional questions, Sumitra says, great session. I'll see you tomorrow as well. Great. I look forward to having you there. And for everybody else that's left, a good referral for me. If you happen to think that this was helpful, if you found some good benefit to it and you like this format, please let your other chapter members, your colleagues know about these webinars. We'd love to have more and more people on the live webinars. So thanks again for being here, everyone. Have an absolutely wonderful rest of the week and happy connecting.